It's day one of the Davos 2020 summit, the World Economic Forum. Plenty of action, strong statements, influential figures, newsmakers. This event has it all. The first day lived up to the billing in ways more than one. For the right reasons and also for the right contradictions, or maybe not right, but the contradictions. This year's overall theme is stakeholders for a cohesive and sustainable world. How to save the planet is one of the 7 key focus areas of Davos 2020. Climate change, climate action, climate emergency were always going to dominate the proceedings, given the spate of extreme weather events crippling the world as we speak. Well, guess who delivered the keynote address? A man who calls climate change a hoax. Interestingly, President Trump said that the US will join the 1 trillion trees initiative launched at Davos, and that's a big statement coming from this president.
Today, I'm pleased to announce the United States will join 1 trillion trees initiative being launched here at the World Economic Forum. 1 trillion trees.
But Trump had his typical shoot the messenger approach. He called upon the global community to reject what he calls prophets of doom.
This is not a time for pessimism. This is a time for optimism. Fear and doubt is not a good thought process, because this is a time for tremendous hope and joy and optimism and action. But to embrace the possibilities of tomorrow, we must reject the perennial prophets of doom and their predictions of the apocalypse.
Which brings us to who else but Greta Thunberg, the teenage climate activist whose stare at Trump during the United Nations General Assembly meeting became a defining moment of last year. This is the first time that Trump and Thunberg are taking part in a global event together after the UNGA. Greta does not think that planting more trees will completely solve the problem. Expect more sparks to fly in the days ahead.
Trees is good, of course, but it's nowhere near enough of what is needed, and it cannot replace real mitigation and rewilding nature.
It seems like the climate and environment is a hot topic right now, and a lot thanks to young people pushing. But of course, if you see it from another perspective, pretty much nothing has been done since the global emissions of CO2 has not reduced.
The frustration of climate activists has some reason. Take, for instance, this very same Davos summit. Leaders talk about climate action, but they do not practice what they preach. Many of the elitist, uber-rich participants fly by private jets to attend the event. Last year, nearly 1,500 private jets were used for this summit. This year may not be significantly lesser. Aviation is estimated to account for 22% of the global carbon emissions by 2050. That's more than 1/5. And yet, world leaders must fly private jets to discuss how to save the planet, often ending without conclusions. Let me give you another figure. Take a 3-hour flight on an average, and 1,500 private jets making those 3-hour flights. Do you know how much carbon dioxide these high-flying guests produce? 1,80,90,000 kilograms. These are conservative estimates, by the way. The irony of the Davos summit is not lost on anyone. But it was not just a climate action debate fest. Several other issues were discussed. For instance, Donald Trump acknowledged the growth of the US economy and appreciated himself for that.
Today, I'm proud to declare that the United States is in the midst of an economic boom, the likes of which the world has never seen before. We've regained our stride, rediscovered our spirit, and reawakened the powerful machinery of American enterprise. America is thriving, America is flourishing, and yes, America is winning again like never before.
Winning what? Trump also hailed the U.S. trade deals with China, Mexico, Japan and South Korea and promised that more could be in the offing. By the way, Trump loves Xi Jinping, it turns out, and considers that his speech at Davos was, quote-unquote, very well received. Clearly, modesty and Trump do not match.
I think that the speech was very well received. You had 200 of the biggest companies in the world in the room, plus you had numerous leaders of major countries, and I think it was very well received from everything I hear. My relationship with President Xi is an extraordinary one. He's for China, I'm for the U.S., but other than that, we love each other.
Meanwhile, the CEO of Huawei, the company at the heart of the US-China trade dispute, insisted that Huawei is not bothered about American sanctions anymore. Ren Zhengfei, the CEO of Huawei, says that his company can survive further attacks from the US.
They stood the first round of attack. And this year in 2020, since we already gained experience from last year and we got a stronger team, I think we are more confident that we can survive even further attacks.
Besides climate change, economy, trade deal, tech wars, Indian actress Deepika Padukone was also there. She was honored with a Crystal Award. This is for championing the need for mental health awareness.
My love-hate relationship with the illness has taught me so much. To be patient for one, that you are not alone, but most importantly, that there is hope. For in the words of Martin Luther King, everything that is done in this world is done by hope.
Iconic figures, awards, great virtuous speeches, a CEO ready for further targeting by the US, a teenage climate activist who berates world leaders, a US president who's busy hailing himself, and the expected dissonance between big words and minuscule action. The Davos summit is off to another characteristic start.